Hello everyone, how are you doing? It's Wardy here, and I've got an epic best of 9 for you, as these best of 9s usually are. Today, two players who I'm pretty sure you're all very excited to see more of. As always, in the bottom left-hand side, our red Terran is going to be INnoVation. It did feel a little bit quiet there without the main music on, that's what was missing. As in the top right, our blue Zerg is Rogue. So TvZ best of 9. I'm not sure how long this is going to be, guys. So as always with the best of 9, sometimes if they go on like 2+ hours, I try and split into like 2 1-hour videos. If it, like we'll kind of see how it goes. This is obviously just a little bit up to how it happens. I don't know how long the series is, because otherwise I'd be casting it with spoilers, and that would be a shame. So yeah, I'm just giving you guys a little heads up on that one. This might be split into 2 videos. It might not be. Of course, how you all doing? I'm Woody, and this is my YouTube channel. This is a YouTube-only cast. And very excited to be able to bring you guys this best of 9 from the, I think it was an Alpha Pro Series show match. Alpha X consistently putting out great show matches between the top level Koreans on a regular basis. Those replays are always available to purchase on their Matcherino pages, which is where I got mine from. They're very affordable, $2 or $3 for an epic best of 9. Absolutely worthwhile, so do check them out. And of course, if you do enjoy this video, do consider hitting the like button. And of course, we are so close to our 20,000 subscribers, everybody. So if you're out there, you're watching, you're a fan, you enjoy what you see, and you don't mind subscribing, please do consider hitting that sub button. I really believe a best of 9 between Rogue and Inno. If we get a lot of likes on this, we can get a lot of clicks. I actually think we could have a big push off of this. So if you're one of these people who hears me saying, hit that like button, and you think, well, Wardy, I don't think I will. But then you're like, well, why don't I? Maybe give it a try. Give that like button one hit. See what it feels like. See what you think about it. As this is an early pool coming out of Rogue. So let's dive into the action now, as we do have INnoVation. He sees the fact that this is a pool first. Now, of course, you don't know how many Zerglings are made off of this, as we do have them coming down to the bottom side. As the command center building up on the natural expansion. And just seeing the Reaper is actually moving out. So these lings are pretty early, because the Reaper really isn't expecting there to be this many lings out on the map already. INnoVation goes all the way up here. He wants the scout on the main. Now, there is a Marine back at home. Against like two Zerglings or so, this one Marine would be just fine. But against this many Zerglings, this is going to be a little bit more difficult. So you get a good scout here as INnoVation. But then you really need to be able to push back these lings. And he actually made a second Marine with a few SCVs. I think this is just about okay. And you can see that Rogue thinks so too. Continue to back off there. Doesn't want to commit in too hard, and will not go all the way through to try and jump on those Marines at all. The Reaper will come back home from INnoVation as well, just to make sure that he is safe, just in case Ling Speed is finishing up too quickly or so. From his scout, he just kind of got in, but he doesn't get too deep. Just the Queen able to deflect him. But we can see from Rogue's point of view at the moment that this is just going to be more drones and a third hatchery on the way up. As he gets toward Ling Speed, he's going to be able to take a bit more map control. But yeah, he did not really do, I guess didn't really do much. You can see the income graph very INnoVation favored from making the 6lings as well. So a little bit of an investment from Rogue early on to not gain a lot, honestly, as this Overlord of Rogue continues down the left side. It wants to sneak into this position right here, and then you get really good access to see just what add-ons on which structures. It's a very safe place for the Overlord as well. Very difficult to kill it off there. Just because you don't see this as INnoVation unless you manually check for it. So unless these couple Marines kind of go over there to watch for it, this Overlord gets there very easily. And then you can just come in. And in this case, he's going to end up scouting the Banshee and the Cloak. And being able to scout that combination of setup just gives Rogue that heads up as to, oh, this is how I should be preparing against this. This is how I should be setting up. He already starts a Baneling Nest, which is pretty early in the game. Maybe a little bit afraid of the, Hellbat attacks or so. We wait to see if he wants to start up a lair, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a lair pretty early on now, because it is that scenario where there's a Cloak Banshee on the way, and even if you don't go for the faster Mutalisks, just getting the Overseer out can be a massive, massive help when it comes to, well, when it comes to just defending these Banshees, because so often you see these Banshees, they end up in a mineral line or two, and they deal some damage, but what's really annoying is when they sit between bases and they can continue to pick away at Queens. It really denies movement between the mineral lines from, units and drones. And so it really just becomes a bit of an issue. And you kind of, you're moving a Spore Crawler around and your Spore's out of position. The Terran takes advantage of that and they dive the mineral line. The Overseer obviously just shuts that down and just gives the Queen that mobile detection. which means they can shut down the Banshee without any issue at all. We're going to be seeing a second engineering bay building in the back of the main base, and that's going to be 2 engineering bays and the double upgrades already rolling from INnoVation, so not slowing down at all. And of course, typically when you go for the lair quickly like Rogue is doing, it looks like he does have the gas to build a Spire as well. When you're going for this, it does generally mean you're going to give up your upgrades a little bit, so it does give INnoVation the upgrade advantage. So that's exactly what we'll see for the moment, as INnoVation will send 2 Banshees up the left-hand side. And we do also have these couple of Hellions and a Reaper in the center. They come through, and they're going to be able to grab a Creep Tumor already. So getting rid of that Creep Tumor, and again, our Banshees to the top to see what they can get done. Spire is, like I mentioned, on the way. So he will go into this. I do feel like around now, though, you should start to think about at least Evo Chambers, because while you are kind of, while it's okay for them to be late because you're on a faster set of Mutalisks and a faster Baneling Nest, you don't want to, or faster Baneling speed. Obviously, the Baneling Nest was not affected by the lair. That can help you defend some of these early attacks, but you still don't want to be too far behind on upgrades. Being behind by a minute to a minute and a half is bad enough. Being behind like an entire set of upgrades constantly, even worse. As the first Banshees come in, 2 together, and they find themselves 3 drones. They'll get 1 more, 2 more here, just taking a few Spore and Queen shots before leaving to the side, where they're actually going to find their way back in for a couple more drones. And this is what's so good about Terrans and Cloak Banshees nowadays, is that they are just so annoying with them, because they know they can trade out a little bit of health for drones, and that's the issue. Unless you have an overwhelming amount of units to shut this down, you can't really stop them from just picking up a little bit of damage here and a little bit of damage there. As INnoVation runs into 3 Queens at the front, now he'll back away. Still has his Hellions parked out the front too. Has not been, running by with those or anything just yet. He took a look up this ramp before, but not really much reason to commit. In fact, much better reason to just keep these alive and join them up even with this first attack. What's been nice is that he's held the Watchtower, and so there's been no Ling sneaking across the map to hit his 3rd base, and as long as he knows that, he can keep these Hellions on the map instead of keeping them back at home defensively. So by having this map control throughout here, INnoVation already gives himself a pretty good option in terms of just being able to power up this attack versus just leaving units at home for what isn't actually a counterattack at all, because he knows it isn't. But of course, sometimes you don't know if it will be or not. So yeah, INnoVation making great use of the map control. Will back away here, now has a couple of siege tanks that will back him up as well. And this is going to really time out for the 1-1 combat shield timing. As we see these Marines coming around, a couple of shots off already, and the Mutalisks get deflected back into the center. Second factory from INnoVation too, so we already get a bit of an idea that he wants to keep on building units here. Typically, this second factory gets a reactor, and you can go Drilling Claws on the first one. You can start to switch into Widow Mines when you're playing against this Ling Bay Muta style. Honestly, I feel like Rogue's got further issues. I feel like Rogue has some issues right here and now. INnoVation's macro has been on point. And those extra drones that he killed with the Banshees, plus the fact this wasn't a very eco-focused opener, and the fact the Mutalisks have not been able to keep the Terran at home at all, it just feels like Rogue isn't doing what he needs to do with these units that he's invested in too early. And this makes this attack very difficult to deal with. Here we go, Marines sitting off creep. They're just going to sit in a concave and target down every Baneling. Okay, the siege tanks go down. What do you need the siege tanks for when there's so many Marines left over? He only lost 3 Marines so far. 3 Marines! And that was all of the Banelings. Well, this 4th base doesn't survive long at all, and I said Rogue might have some problems. He absolutely does. Damage like this is not easily fixed. As Rogue goes back around to the top side, some Marines and a siege tank around the left now. Reinforcements showing up. I mean, at least Rogue is now about to be on 1-1 upgrades. Yeah, these meters, though, this is the thing, right? You give up the 1-1 to have faster Bane speed and the faster meters. And the meters just didn't slow the Terran down at all across the map. Hold that thought, because here we go. Diving on in, Rogue. Trying to make something happen. I think this might actually just be a sweep here in the first game. GG is called. INnoVation will take a 1-0 lead just like that. And move himself 1-0 up in this best of 9 series nice and quickly. I just want to say, again, I think it's just crazy, right? That you can... That you make these meters and they just don't get anything done. I'm not sure if the timing was delayed, because INnoVation was there at the front, and because of that, the meters just never got across the map. If the meters don't go across the map, the Terran's going to keep on reinforcing and pushing at the front, and if the Terran keeps reinforcing and pushing at the front, you just aren't meant to have Mutalisks there. The Mutalisks aren't designed to deal with fights like that. That is when you need 1-1 upgrades. But again, usually you can give up 1-1 upgrades because the Mutas give you enough to make up for it. Obviously not in this game. And INnoVation is going to be dominant, taking a 1-0 lead in this best of 9. As we go through this YouTube exclusive cast, we'll see you guys for game number 2. Game number 2 will be on Nightshade, and we start off in the top left-hand side of the map with our blue Terran player, INnoVation. And in the bottom right, our red Zerg from Jin Air Green Wings, it is Rogue. Of course, guys, if you are enjoying the cast here, let me know down below if there's any players in particular you'd like to see more of in the future. We've got a lot of games and a lot of tournaments going on right now, and I'm actually getting to a point where I've not been for a while, which is where I'm actually very overloaded on things to upload to YouTube. We had some really great matches in the WardiTV tournament lately, so we've got like lots of uploads there, but we've also got, you know, this epic series as well. Very, very exciting stuff. Yeah, I'm actually really glad. This is actually my first day off casting on a stream in like 60 days, basically 2 months. And I thought, well, you know, you guys know me, I'm a bit of a StarCraft addict. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity to get a really good cast where I'm full of energy. I've not just come off a stream. Thought it was a really good chance to get a YouTube-only cast out of this best of 9. Because I'm expecting this to go the distance. I'm expecting this to go back and forth a little bit. And I really thought it'd be one that you guys would enjoy, because I know we mentioned doing INnoVation Week last week or a couple of weeks ago, and everyone was like, oh my god, I love INnoVation Week. And while we didn't quite do INnoVation Week, we still had a lot of INnoVation uploads, and you guys said you can't possibly give me enough INnoVation, Wardy. So I got the best of 9 with INnoVation in it. So yeah, I thought it'd be really cool to be able to get this up for you guys, and really glad to get this opportunity. So yeah, let me know down below if there's anyone else, any other players in particular you guys are missing videos of. If there's any, if you're feeling like you might want to see, you know, there's been a tournament you saw that was happening with certain people, let me know. Honestly, I read so many of the comments, and don't try and test me on this, because I know someone will be like, Wardy, did you read this? And I'll be like, yes, I read this. Why? And you'll be like, because I was testing you. And what'll happen will be is I'll have no idea what you're on about, because quite frankly, I didn't remember saying it in the video. So then I get very confused. This happened like twice already, and I'm just like, my reply is just like, I have no idea what you're on about. But yeah, I do read the comments a lot, so I always take your advice on what we should upload more of. So let me know, guys. Let me know. This is Nightshade, of course, to get into the StarCraft for this second game. We do have a map which is very much so favored by the Terran. We've seen a pretty typical Reaper expand, a second gas now underway, so no fast 3cc build order. And from Rogue, just hatch, gas, pool. No pool first this time around, obviously very notably. So much more standard game, and hence why I go on a bit of a tangent for the first couple of minutes. But yeah, Reaper will trade out with these lings. What is interesting is this is 6 Zerglings made and not 4. Because usually, you would make only 4 lings because you only really need 4 lings. You can see these 2 lings, or like, you can pick any 2 of these lings that are pretty high HP. You know, you just didn't need those 2 to really do what you did here in terms of pushing the Reaper back. So that's just an extra drone that Rogue is missing out on, and it's those little things, right? Why make 6 if you can get away with 4, right? You know, 6 really doesn't give him any advantage at all here. So yeah, it's just a little thing to take note of. But other than that, very standard. No SCV attempts to block the 3rd hatchery here from Rogue. An INnoVation, I wouldn't be too surprised to even see a starport building a Banshee this game, because this is the kind of map where you can oftentimes, you know, run into roach attacks, because Terran players do like it. Because it's small, it's easy to deal with the counterattacks on. It's very hard to run by successfully on this map as Zerg. So a lot of the times Zergs try and use the size of the map to then push themselves early and to get their own, you know, roach play on the map and to try and deal damage early in the game. So Cloak Banshees here turn out to be a pretty common affair. We'll see if INnoVation just go into that. He didn't have the barracks built in the tech lab early enough for the starport to swap, because he actually flew it to the front, looking for the Overlord on this high ground. Baroque has once again snuck this Overlord to the left-hand side, exactly like he did on Eternal Empire, and that's going to give him the full scout of add-ons here. He's going to see Stim, he's going to see Cloak, and that means that Rogue is very much so aware of what is happening. He doesn't see the 3rd CC, but I don't think you really need to see the 3rd CC in all of this. It is a little bit earlier than usual still, even though it's double gas. He still ended up going for it around the 3-minute marker. But I don't think that's a big miss for Rogue, because Cloak Banshees and seeing the Stim alone, I think, is a pretty good indicator that there's going to be a 3rd base. I can't think of a build right now in the meta that really goes, especially with like Cloak Banshees. He just cancelled Cloak last minute too, wow. But especially with like the Cloak Banshee setup, I can't think of a build that also then gets Stim and turns out to be like a 2-base all-in or something. Especially not one that wouldn't be scoutable in some other way anyways. So not seeing the 3rd is not the end of the world for our boy Rogue. And INnoVation, he does cancel the cloak, he does cancel the Banshee that was building, and he decides to go into the... Well, he for a moment he went for the Liberator, but then he just moved off and went for a Reactor, so he's not going to make use of the Starport at all, which is actually fine. Yes, it's a little bit more risky, but obviously he doesn't feel like he's in much trouble. And as he comes out over here, he's going to try to get a few more of these Zerglings. That's actually a pretty good start, to the point where I actually think INnoVation says, well, if I can kill this many Zerglings, I can get into the main base, right? I can get into the natural, and I can deal some worker damage. And that's exactly what we are going to start seeing as he gets all the way into the main. 4 or 5 workers already down. Get up to 8 now into the mineral line for a couple more, and this is really good damage early game for INnoVation. He'll be extremely happy with how this is going. As these 2 Hellions around the left-hand side, they're going to get scared away a little bit. The Queens continue over. Both those Hellions goes down. And another hatchery from Rogue coming out at the front. So Rogue will get another hatch down the front. He will build a 4th base, but that sort of damage early is like the Banshee damage in the last game, where, okay, this time he didn't keep the Banshees alive, or in this case, he didn't keep the Hellions alive to kind of go for a follow-up attack, but it's the sort of damage where you start to worry as the Zerg, because all of a sudden now, you're behind on drones from where you're meant to be. Because you're behind on drones, you struggle to, you try and over-drone a bit, and that means you lack units when it comes to a fight. And there's just that weird kind of, there's a bit of a back and forth that happens where it's like, you just can't quite get the drone count / the army count I need. And bioplay, when it's executed well and the macro is on point, is going to punish you for not having either the right unit count, or if you have the right unit count, you don't have the right worker count, and that means the continued bioplay then becomes a bit of an issue. So you already start to fall a bit behind as the Zerg, and whenever you start to fall a bit behind, it does become difficult to start getting back into the game once more. So just something to keep in mind and watch out for as this one plays out, because this could absolutely be INnoVation just starting a steamroll, and especially on a map like Nightshade where counterattacking is going to be very difficult. You can already see here INnoVation shows up, gets down this ramp, and finds 1 Queen, a few creep tumors that have just been placed. They go down. There's no Baneling speed yet, despite the fact this was a faster lair again. This time it was just a faster lair for the Overseer. Didn't go into the Spire, didn't go into Mutalisk at all. Just wanted the Overseer, wanted the Baneling speed. Means that INnoVation now has 1-1 against 0-0. The fight right here actually would have been really good for him to take. The upgrade lead, and obviously not too many Banes, and they don't have speed, so it is target fireable. Obviously, INnoVation decides just to lift up back away. Maybe had to go back home and macro at this point, meaning he had to drop these depots, for example, and that was a priority in his mind rather than trying to take that fight and make the most of the moment. INnoVation will still be aggressive. He's moving out with the siege tanks here, and look at this. Doesn't even go for that 8 racks, which is so powerful in this map. Just says, cool, I'm already in a good spot. Let's just go for a 4th base. Let's not go overly aggro just in case he finds a way to defend it. Let's actually just play like a nice, strong macro game as the 4th base is building. The 3rd base is going to be under some heavy fire. Those Lings coming through this run by. Looking good. Gets a surround on these Marines. The upgrades have evened out now. Meanwhile, Baneling's already crashing in on the other side. Well, these Lings go down. They kill 15 SCVs, though, and that's a pretty big deal. It's a lot of workers, and you killed some of the reinforcements, so this army doesn't get stronger, but those siege tanks have just had major hits across all of the Ling Bane, and the army gets back here. INnoVation will finish off this fort, which he got some damage onto early, as now we see him pushing forward and able to get rid of a lot of the creep spread. So a lot of creep team is cleaned out here, and that takes away the map control, which Rogue maybe needs to try and stay in this game. I would have said this 4th base was maybe a base he needed to stay in this game. Now he has to expand down here, and he doesn't have creep in this direction, so it's going to be very difficult to defend any Terran attacks that go in that direction, all the way down to that 4th base. Then counterattack again. I mean, if there's one thing that worked well so far for Rogue, it was probably the counterattack. He did clean, he did lose a lot of Lings in that process, but I think what he got done, 15 workers and the Marines, was probably worthwhile. But as INnoVation keeps on being aggressive, Rogue will not stay in this. He types the GG, and INnoVation will go to a pretty swift 2-0 lead in this best of 9. Really just both games getting some early damage done, and the follow-up push just being scary enough that Rogue, not even just scary enough, but just actually straight up, it is powerful enough to just pick off Rogue. Rogue just has no way to stay in this. He doesn't have the units. He can't trade properly. And so INnoVation is going to take a 2-0 lead. And INnoVation, I know we got a lot of INnoVation fans in the viewership here on the YouTube, but you know what, guys? It's nice to see winning and looking good, but it also gets great to see Rogue putting up a bit of a fight in this best of 9. So if you guys are a Rogue fan out there, time to channel some energy. Let's see if you can bring it back as we'll go into that 3rd map. and see what that's going to be for Rogues. A third map here is going to be Zen, always one we talk about a lot when it comes to kind of seeing some different bits and pieces on, and INnoVation will spawn in as our blue Terran on the top right-hand side. He takes on the red Zerg in the bottom left. It is Generic Greenwing's Rogue. In this third map, the thing about Zen is just the tank positions you can get. You can set up down here and get into the main. You can set up down here and hit the natural. You can set up here and kind of put this position pressure on. There's a lot of ways you can put on a fight as INnoVation, and if you get into those positions, it's so hard for the Zerg to break you, because if you get in those positions and trade well the first time, then how does the Zerg get enough up to start cleaning up from that point on? So makes this one an interesting one. Means it feels like, you know, as Rogue, you maybe need to take some map control or so early on in this to be able to deal with that kind of pressure. So we'll see what comes up. We'll see what happens as Zen will develop over the next few moments. Just want to say thank you to a lot of people who have actually started to support the YouTube channel monetarily on the I know a lot of you guys watch ads and stuff, and that's really awesome. I really appreciate all the support when you're watching the ads and supporting the channel and helping me continue to do what I'm doing. But just a quick mention to the YouTube membership system. We've actually nearly got 10 members, and I believe if you have YouTube Premium, you can still actually subscribe as a member to the channel for free, and it still benefits me as though you're paying the $5 a month or so. So maybe consider checking that out. You do get the replay packs of stuff we cast on my Twitch channel, but also the stuff that then hence gets uploaded to YouTube. You get those replay packs and so on, accessible on our Discord server and stuff. Or I even made a members post the other day. So really getting fancy with all this YouTube lingo. So if that sounds interesting to you, or maybe you just want to support the content, maybe check that out. Just as we have a standard opening, you know, I've got to use these YouTube exclusives as a chance to say all the things I want to usually say to you guys and spread out over multiple kind of YouTube videos. Now I feel like I've got to spread them out, you know, something different at the start of each game if we have a standard slow opener. Just 30-40 seconds. Appreciate you guys listening to it. Reaper is coming across the map. INnoVation coming down to the bottom side, looking for information, damage. Rogue goes 6 Zerglings again. Rogue, are you just that unconfident against the Reaper of INnoVation? I don't even know. Just what do these, like, what do 6-lings do right now that 4-lings don't? Really nothing. Like, maybe you could argue that, like, you know, you can keep chasing for a bit longer before you have to pull back. But the Reaper's already low, the Queen's already out, and did any of these lings get dangerously low? Well, maybe you have to pull like 1 or 2 of them away, but it always gets a little bit tight there. But that's why you can get away with 4 lings. You can still make it work, right? Yeah, that was very just very interesting to see 6 Zerglings coming up time and time again here, basically. And we do have the Overlord of Rogue up to the top, making its way through the top, and maybe we'll take a turn into the main base soon enough as we have a starport coming up to being halfway done in the main base. As I drop the pen I'm fidgeting with on my keyboard, I'm going to move it to the side so I don't fidget anymore. I'm such a fidgeter when I cast, guys. Honestly, if there's anything nearby me, I start to fidget. And you know what? I should just keep my hand locked on the keyboard, locked on the mouse. I should fidget. Well, I shouldn't fidget with these because then it would change stuff that you see, but I should, it's one of those bad habits. It's such a hard habit to break because I've been trying to break it for a long time and I just can't. It's really tough. Hey, again, INnoVation looking for the Overlord with this barracks moving forward. Doesn't find it. Overlord is actually up to the top side here, although not in the best of position to see anything, and INnoVation sees it now too, so he knows where to keep his Marine to get damage on that Overlord. And this is a map where it's very hard to get far enough into this main base to see exactly what's going on. Unlike the last 2 maps where he was able to get a pretty reliable scout on the add-on. And INnoVation in a way kind of looks like he's maybe even taking a bit of advantage of this. Just, you know, going for an add-on-less setup. And, you know, you come in here and you scout, this is Rogue, you see no add-on. Well, it could still be a Viking, it could still be a Lib. It would still be a Medevac as well, so he doesn't really know. Rogue knows that Medevac is a possibility, though, so he does keep the lings in the main. And now he sees it with this Overlord. So now he knows for sure, and these Hellions shouldn't be able to get through for too much damage right from the start. We do have 2 more Hellions already through the middle, and heading across to the 3rd base. Maybe a run by there for a few drones. Yeah, the 4 Queens are here, but obviously it's just 2 Hellions, so the moment this first Hellion goes down, you know, you're already not one-shotting drones, so the moment the first Hellion goes down, this becomes much worse. Unfortunately for Rogue, he wasn't able to really sync the damage up very easily, And so the couple of drones go down. I don't think that's too bad, because now it's also brought the Lings away and given the Hellions in the main base opportunity to deal even more damage. And he will get 7 workers and then lift up and back away with this medevac, pulling it through the bottom side. As the Liberator will siege, the Queens continue forward. And that's going to be a dead Liberator. Liberator gets a couple extra kills though, right? And it all adds up. You know, we'll now talk about 9 kills in total. And again, in the early stages, INnoVation gets some worker damage done. This time, he gets 9 drones while keeping Hellions alive, and they can always join up and fight later on. Third CC finishes a little bit later than it did on the last map as well, though. So there's also that to keep in mind, the sense that, you know, the setup from INnoVation is changing too. I feel like this is probably the best position Rogue has been, because I feel like losing 9 drones while INnoVation loses a Liberator, only has 4 Hellions still on the map. I feel like that's much better than in the previous games where INnoVation, you know, in the first map he killed 7 drones, lost nothing. In the second map, he killed, you know, 10 drones and lost his Hellions, but he also had a very fast 3cc of his own, so he already had a super good economy, you know, beyond that. This game, you know, he kills 9 workers, but he loses the lib. He, you know, has to invest in an early medevac that doesn't have much extra use just yet. Only 4 Hellions left over. Still like it for INnoVation, but if it feels like there's a way for a Rogue back in, maybe this game is the one, as he goes into 1-1 melee upgrades on the Evolution Chambers here. You see the 1-1 from INnoVation on the way too. Nice. Also, that Rogue maybe just changes it up a bit, right? Goes for the later leg, goes for the faster upgrades. Maybe that will help him with some of the problems he's been having with the way he's trying to fight INnoVation, etc. And his medevac's all the way to the top as creep tumors will be spreading forwards. And we have a few Marines just unloading with these medevacs on the top left side. INnoVation will bring a medevac, a couple of Widow Mines and 4 Marines through into the middle as well. I'm just going to go straight through for that. A couple of creep tumors on the top. So yeah, just a little bit of creep denial for the moment. The Widow Mines here obviously potentially very annoying. Usually you see Widow Mine drops against Circle a little bit later in the game when it gets to that point where that's kind of unfortunate. I feel like these Widow Mines blew up lava and they blew up a drone that was about to die anyways. Usually see Widow Mine drops later when they get that drilling clause, and then you can obviously jump in, and it's very hard for the Zerg to deal with that while also dealing with the other pressure of the Terran. As this is nice. Top side just gets 2, 3, 4 Queens. Wow. That's actually crazy. Okay, only 4 Marines left here and only 8 Marines left here, but to lose 4 Queens already puts you down a 4, so now you've only got Queens to inject with. And if you want to do more than just injecting with your Queens, you're now going to be pulling the injection Queens out of position. And if you're pulling those out of position, then you start falling behind on lava. So yeah, you've got to kind of make a choice. On the plus side, he hasn't killed many creep tumors, so you don't really need the Queens to go out and replace the creep spread just yet. So that's one of the main jobs that the Queens, you know, fulfill in this TvZ matchup. That's one of their main jobs they don't have to worry about. So it's mostly just pulling the Queens to help defend certain attacks. And that could still get messy, although nothing immediately here that feels as though INnoVation is going to force that Queen pull. So the point I'm making is that maybe it's going to turn out to be a bit of a non-issue anyways. INnoVation will, with this army now, start to pick off some creep tumors, gets an Overlord. Rogue actually hits a supply block from the Overlord loss. He's going to run into this, has Bane speed, has equal upgrades as well. Although for having the equal upgrades earlier, he actually did not start his 2... He did... Well, I say yes, I emphasized he did. He did not start his 2-2 on time. So INnoVation will actually start to take a lead on the 2-2, and that's obviously a real shame, and maybe just during the pressure, INnoVation handled the continuation of those upgrades much better than Rogue did. Good re-denial of the creep here just before it gets back up the front and into the middle of the map once more. So good denial, keeps that slow, and as drilling clause kicks in now seeing dedicated Widow Mine drops. 4 Widow Mines going straight to the bottom left-hand side. They're going to make their way in towards a mineral line, and it's just a distraction. It's just more potential damage. INnoVation continuing to put himself just across the board into a good position as the command center will land in the bottom right in a moment or two. Zergling, some damage on the Widow Mine. Oh, there's the Widow Mines. They actually came through a little bit faster than I thought they would. As he finds 17 workers, just straight in the natural, and well, now Rogue sat on 66 workers against the 73, so INnoVation, as he takes a 4th base, is on a worker lead, putting good pressure on, taking a while for these Queens to get rid of the Widow Mines. I was almost afraid that maybe they would get another shot off, but it doesn't quite happen. This medevac still has a couple of units inside of it. And as the next Widow Mine drop is all the way along the bottom, maybe looking to hit the main base. And again, INnoVation uses this as an opportunity just to get a bit more creep spread here or there. There's a big run by around this bottom side and toward the fourth base. The fourth base that's just going to morph into a Planetary Fortress in time to help push this back. And so Rogue has no choice other than to back away. There's our Widow Mines. Oh my goodness! 24 kills, 3 drones, but 21 lings? Yes, please. And obviously more Widow Mines where that came from, as he will unload across the third base. And oh my god. There's 8 lings going down. There's drones in position and 7 drones. And all the lings as well, I think, is just worth mentioning. Widow Mines over here, clean up. Okay. This is just the march of the Widow Mines for INnoVation. Or the drop of the Widow Mines. This is just Widow Mine City. What is happening? Just Widow Mine after Widow Mine after Widow Mine so far. More Marines will stim through, and a lot of creep going to get picked off. And now I think Rogue has maybe just lost too much. He's been rebuilding drones basically consistently, and lings that he's lost. And now he just has no preparation for this attack. He has 13 Banes on the map. INnoVation has no respect for what Rogue has. Just comes straight through on top of these Banes. The Banes that were already finished are actually very late to the fight as well, so they show up very, very slowly. And I mean, this Bio Army has apparently just got the damage output to just clean this out. There's some more Banes from the top side. The Banes somehow are going to get flanked on their own kind of base, as the Marines and Marauders from the top right will show up, and there's just not enough Banelings. There is nothing in production. Well, there's 64 Zerglings in production, but there's no Banelings in production. That realistically will clean out this Bio Army. A nice little push from INnoVation as Rogue takes too much damage across the board, and then he hits just as Adrenal Glands is on the production tab, just as Rogue is trying to invest into Hive Tech. And Rogue is just falling apart in this series. That's 3 games in a row, right? Realistically, INnoVation has just won the game with some very, very good attacks. Guys, I'm starting to get this feeling this might not even go on YouTube, because if Rogue gets smacked 5-0, well, I guess I'll probably still upload it, but it feels like we're on the road to no redemption, because especially in a best of 9, you're down 0-3. You have to win 5 maps. Your opponent has to win 2. It's not a pretty position to be in. It's very demotivating. If INnoVation wins the next map, surely there's no way back for Rogue, right? Well, let's see if that happens, or if Rogue can finally get on the scoreboard. He needs it so badly. INnoVation versus Rogue, our game number 4. Let's see what map it's going to be on. We go into Simulacrum, a map which I think is going to decide the fate of this best of 9, because if our Red Terror in the top left, INnoVation wins this, and is 4-0 up and needs 5 points to win, surely there is no... I mean, you see like a reverse sweep in like a best of 5 sometimes. A best of 7 on a rare occasion. And a best of 9? Rogue would have his work cut out for him. He really, really badly needs a win here. He just needs to stand up to INnoVation. Maybe it's time to just switch up as well. Maybe it's time to get some roaches out, play aggressively, you know, take the upper hand. He will go spawn and pool first, so that may give him a little bit of what he needs, as we have the pool in the back of this mineral line, and a well, racks continue to build up in the main base. Just going to be having the refinery on the way. Very interested to see what Rogue does with the spawning pool, because I feel like he needs a change in pace. And he's just not had that yet. It will be hatch into, pool into hatch, and then a gas, so it won't be super fast roaches. I guess, I mean, let's just see. I feel like I don't want to make any predictions at the moment, because I feel like any prediction I make is biased, because if I have to look at the first 3 games, I have to say that INnoVation is just going to bop Rogue, and it's going to be really sad, and it's just going to be a really sad series. But I really don't want that to be the case. I really, really thought this is going to be an epic best of 9, so I really want Rogue to win as well, to make this a bit of a better best of 9. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's so tough too, right? You're down 0-3 and nothing's been working, but also you've been dying to like the very simple things. So do you really need to like change it up to the point where it's like you have to like roach all in to get ahead or something? Does that have to happen? Probably not. SCV sees the 2 lings leaving. That's really good information, because A, you know which direction they went in, B, you know it's only 2 lings. That's really nice for Inno, and now he knows what he can do with this Reaper probably. But yeah, it's very as the lings actually come back into the nutshell, it's very tough, because I feel like I say this a lot about Rogue when I cast Rogue in online events, and it's not that Rogue needs to like change up his style. It's not that Rogue needs to like make a huge switch on what's happening. He just needs to play better. And I know that's like it's a stupid thing to say almost, you know, obviously play better, you'll win, but I feel like sometimes, you know, you see people losing, it's like, oh, well, maybe they need to take more map control. It's like, oh, well, maybe they need to just, you know, round out this defense there. No, Rogue just needs to play better across the board, because at the moment, he's having a really bad time. At the moment, he's having a really, really bad time. Nothing he's doing is really working for him. And I don't really see much of that changing, actually. Yeah, I don't really see much of that changing if he just doesn't start playing better. It's not like he's, you know, it's not like he's playing a style that doesn't work against what INnoVation is doing. He just needs to round out, you know, completely defend everything properly. He needs to then make sure he takes the fights better. His run buys need to be more better thought out. Yeah, he just, I think he needs to just play a little bit better, because INnoVation is simply outplaying him right now. As simple as that. Starport about to finish here. Let's talk a bit about these builds, because this is looking as though the Starport could swap to the Tech Lab. Maybe go to Banshees, and it does sound like, yeah, it sounded like the barracks had just taken off. So we will see Cloaked Banshees again here from INnoVation. We saw them in the first game, right? And then he was going to go for them in game 2 as well, but he decided not to. He cancelled at the last moment. So the third time of going toward Cloaked Banshees, we'll see if he actually commits this time. I imagine he will, because there's not an Overlord nearby for Rogue to get the Scout. And that means he's not going to be really, you know, he's not going to blindly, you know, he's not going to be able to be, like, perfectly set up, like, he knows 100% it's Banshees. Because that makes a big difference, too. You can assume there's Banshees, but you can also, if you're assuming Banshees, you also have to assume potentially a Liberator, potentially Medevac, Hellion Drop or so. And if you're assuming all of those things, then you can't be everywhere, because each of those different bits and pieces needs a slightly different way of doing this, right? You need like a slightly better, you need a slightly different position on the Spore Crawler, slightly different number of queens here or there, and all that stuff. So, not seeing this, don't see any reason why INnoVation would cancel these Banshees this time around. He's going to fly one straight through this Overlord, which is a little bit unfortunate. Good positioning of the Overlord here from Rogue. So now he does know it's Banshees, and now he can position himself accordingly. And yeah, he's got the spores coming up. He's getting his queens down. He's just making sure there's a spore in the main base as well. This is 8 Hellions from INnoVation, and 8 Hellions is on that aggressive side of things where you're kind of looking for damage. You're looking to get into the mineral line. You're looking to pick up some kills. So far, INnoVation backs away to the side. You see this Banshee going back up the upper right. Spore Crawler still coming through, and a couple of queens out the front now, and the Hellions will take some damage. Creep Spread continue to push forwards, and another Rax dropping down. Starport will build a reactor, and INnoVation will just once more, I think, want to try and run to the third base. When you go 8 Hellions, you do slow down your Rax a little bit, so having to, deal with that, you really are hoping for some damage at that point, as the queens get one of the Hellions picked off. And these 2 Banshees from INnoVation do cloak up, and they are going to press forwards into the back of this mineral line. The queens all here gathered up as INnoVation will turn back around. Hellions and a Reaper from INnoVation also in the middle of the map, and the Spire is dropping on the natural as well. So Spire on the natural, Evolution Chamber still coming into play with the extra Zerglings still just continuing out. So all of these Lings still coming into play with the Hellions onto the Creep Spread, going to be able to get rid of some of these Creep Tumors already. The Banshee is able to get 1 or 2 of those Creep Tumors as well, so Creep will go down. I mean, it's nice, right? INnoVation, he doesn't necessarily deal any damage, but I feel like it's preservation of units. And of course, if you're keeping your units alive, they become more useful and more chances to deal damage with them later in the game. That said, right, so here's the thing. Finally, we've actually had a game where Rogue doesn't just die early, right? He doesn't take too much damage. I'm a little bit questioning this move forward because it feels very dangerous to try and surround those Hellions, and INnoVation is paying attention, so he doesn't just lose everything out of nowhere. 2 Banshees of Inno are going around the bottom right-hand side. But CC already muling up on the 3rd location. Changeling coming in. But yeah, I think Rogue has finally gone into a position where he's he's well set up without taking too much damage, and we might really have a game on our hands for once, where INnoVation's first push shouldn't just overwhelm. Yes, the upgrades are much further along for INnoVation, but this is where these mutants come out. They get across the map, they maybe slow INnoVation down a bit, they deal some damage, and then they can maybe pull back to help with the defense, because INnoVation is pushing. Looks like he wants to get this high ground position here. You can siege up the tanks, and you can have a push into the 4th base protected by tank fire. Obviously, then it's hard to surround that, because you've got to come all the way around the top and then through the left-hand side if that's your plan. There those meters showing up, and there's not a lot of anti-air defense just yet. Medevac pops out. That'll take a few shots. You'll die for that. A few SCVs, a few, a Medevac. The Marines backed away from this third base, so he's going to get even more SCVs. And he has Banelin speed to try and help slow down this attack on the front. Let's see how well Rogue can do in defending this base. Transfusion to keep the Queen alive in the Banelings. Well, the problem is you can't just trail a few Banelings in at once against siege tanks. You want to go in with all of the Banelings at the same time, because you need to just keep going through. You're going to lose some to tank shots. So you really just need to commit in for that. These Banelings kind of stop on the tank position, I guess, because they want to try and not take damage until the tanks die to the Mutalisks. Some Marines survive, and that's a bit of a shame. It feels like with that amount of Bane, Rogue should have had a full cleanup. It was a little messy, the first just few Banelings that went off and didn't do much. And INnoVation, well, he has been slowed. His siege tank count down to 1. Rogue is going to have Banelings ready for the next wave of this, and it does feel like, Rogue survives the first push of INnoVation, albeit this hatchery is still very low on health. Drops a single transfusion now, and that means Rogue just has to go because he doesn't have anything else for this, as he will get rid of the tank, and now it's just Marines trying to take on those Banelings while Bane's chasing in, and INnoVation turns. 1, 2, and 3 target-fired Banelings go down, but the fourth one does not, and the Lings catch up and kill anyways. The Medevac's pretty low on energy, so there wasn't too much healing going on. The Marines been stimmed multiple times. This is where Rogue's going maybe a bit too far forwards, though, right? All the way into the far left-hand side. He's going to get up this ramp. He's going to keep moving through. He's going to be having our siege tanks going to get picked up in a moment or so. So tanks will go down. The Banes are still chasing. He does overhead actually getting a lot of the Marines. INnoVation supplies taking some heavy hits here. And some Banes get quite a lot of SCVs on that third base. 10 workers down. Okay. I really thought Rogue was overextending a little bit with this chase down. But the Mutalisks really shone in this fight, because now they showed up. They got rid of so much there. So many Marines that were actually just chased down because they didn't have the numbers to fight the Mutalisks off. And now Rogue gets another round of Banelings underway. I will say, though, Rogue is only on 1-1, so he never started 2-2. And that means he's on 90 drones, but he's almost all in, because if you don't go now, okay, he will start 2-2. Okay. I was just a bit worried he was never going to start. He's going to morph in like another 15 Banelings, and now it would have been like, oh. Well, I mean, at that point, you just have to deal damage here. So maybe he's not all in, but he's in a position where if he doesn't deal damage, he's in a lot of trouble. Here you go, running in again. The siege tank gets so many shots off before he gets taken down, though. Marines going to be standing on the low ground. A few more Marines over under these Mutalisks on the natural as well. The siege tank survives, just doesn't get a couple more shots on these Banes. The Banes will crash into mules mostly, but also a good amount of SCVs. 14 workers down. INnoVation still trailing heavily in supply, and it's not been pretty from Rogue. It's not been pretty at all, but I think it has been enough for Rogue to probably take a map in this series and to keep the series really alive and pumping, because if you go down 4-0, you're probably seeing 5-0 5 minutes later when Rogue fails an all-in or something. But now 3-1, it's a little bit better. Obviously, it's still not ideal. You're still down by 2 maps, but it also just gives you the belief that you can actually win games, right? You go from being down, not able to win anything, to suddenly, you can do this, right? This INnoVation guy, he's not unbeatable. He does actually lose some maps every now and then. So it gives you that bit of hope as well. And the mindset going through into the next game should be huge, because obviously this is a crashing wave of Zerg that just can't be handled by the Terran. Bane's continue to move on through this. SCVs run around all over. Marines are going down. And yeah, this time Rogue was able to clean up that attack of INnoVation and really just keep the push going. Kind of what INnoVation did to Rogue the last few games, right? He won the first fight, he just kept the push going. Now Rogue wins that first bigger fight, and obviously it just comes off the back of having a much better early game. Didn't take any damage, we mentioned that a couple of times. And INnoVation's going to type the GG to give us that map for Rogue, and that is so very important. So very important. GG's. Rogue is going to take a map, and we will get ourselves into a game 5 without the threat of Rogue being swept clean. Game 5, and we might truly have ourselves a series. On the right-hand side of Purity and Industry, the blue Terran player is INnoVation. And in the 12 o'clock, the red Zerg, it is from Jinair Green Wings, Rogue. Yes, we've got a series. I'm so excited. I can't believe it. This is the best thing to happen since the last best of 9 that went the distance and was really, really epic. If you didn't see that TUI trap matchup, that was absolutely stellar. That one had some fun twists and turns as well, especially on this map, because Purity and Industry is that weirder map. Now, it's a Terran map. Let's just face it. Everybody says this, so I'm just going to say it too. It's a Terran map, you know? You get 1, 2, 3 bases easily. You can get an aggressive third base if you want it. These bases are easy to push from and push across the map into. These bases in the back, maybe not so much, but you can take, you know, the same applies for run-bys. If you're going to run by this base here, it's going to come from here. And to get here, you kind of have to go through one of these major positions on the map, either here, here, or here. Arguably, you could say, like, here, but you could maybe kind of join these together and say, like, here, right? So INnoVation only has to see 3 places on the map to see any potential movement of the Zerg army. Plus, the entire map is very choked up. Makes, obviously, a lot of the Terran units and the AoE very effective. This should be the Terran's map. This should be INnoVation's. Definitely, okay, it's not going to be like 100% win rate, don't get me wrong, but it's the kind of map that a Terran likes to play on. And you can actually play very good late game Terran on this map as well, for some of the same reasons that I just mentioned. So, a lot to look out for as this SCV comes to the top. And will be, well, kind of wanted to make a move into the main. There's a couple of Queen 6 Zerglings in production. Of course, SCV sees that it's a hatchery first, right? And so the SCV doesn't really need to go look in the main. What the SCV will do is block the third hatchery. Now, we've not seen a lot of this in this series, but it's become quite typical to happen in TvZ. You block the third hatchery, and by blocking the third hatchery, you're going to be able to slow the drone from taking it, but also you can sometimes force the hatchery to come where you don't want it to. As the Zerg, you know, the Zerg says, well, crap, I actually just can't get this base up. I guess I better just expand right here, which is where the Terran would love to attack into. The Reaper comes across to stop this from happening. Then he's actually just going to pull his SCV away. The Lings are now out and pressing forwards to come across and try and counter, I guess, with this couple of Marines. See, obviously, this is not pool first Lings or anything. This is just, I made 6 Lings and I'm going to try and do something with them. But then he turns back around. I mean, Rogue now can take the third hatch. Obviously, delayed a little bit maybe from where you want it to be, but not delayed for an eternity. And also, I think important to make note that it is where he wants it to be, right? This third base is way more difficult for the Terran to push into because there's not a good rally into that third base. If you rally on this map, you rally from your own third, probably up into this position here, which means if you're forced to take this base, you have a bad time. If you take this base to your fourth, the Terran can definitely start pushes up into this. But again, I mean, the Terran doesn't necessarily mind that so much because they don't necessarily need to be as aggressive in these games. Hey, look, there's a lot of Lings made from Rogue, so he's going to get to a bit of a feisty position himself. As all of these Zerglings will make their way down and through the middle of the map here. A couple of Hellions just building up, a Viking going to pop out, and a couple of SCVs are building. All of these Zerglings will go running towards the natural, which only has 2 Hellions on it. If you lose these Hellions, it's INnoVation. I feel like the Lings made a bit of a dodgy dart there initially, and I feel like maybe could have even got on top of that Diva before it raised. Yeah, a couple of them kind of went to the side. Oh, maybe now the Hellions get caught. One of them will. And of course, at this point, 2 more Hellions show up, but the SCV count will start to drop, and damage being done here by Rogue. The Viking even lands to try and help this. 9 workers go down. Just not too many more just yet. A couple more Zerglings will be picked off too. So 9 SCVs will fall as we have a stim pack upgrade from INnoVation on the way in the main base. Again, that stim pack up and running. Command center is building from INnoVation as well. A factory going to move across to a tech lab. And of course, the couple of evolution chambers still just building from Rogue in the back of the natural. So getting his 2 evolution chambers up as INnoVation's Viking into the main base. Got this Queen out here as well. A couple shots onto the Viking. Yeah, obviously there's not much for the Viking to really do. Obviously should just go hunting for Overlords. And there is Overlords out here to kill. He's just not found them yet. He will see them eventually as he rallies around. But yeah, good start from Rogue. You know, you kill 9 SCVs. Yes, it costs you 22 Lings. But now you're going to drone up quite heavily, quite quickly. It slows the Terran down a lot because they had to pull workers to lose mining. You can see the impact it has. Like, INnoVation starts off pretty good. But then he has to, then he loses these workers, and Rogue really just drones, and he gets to this position now where Rogue has a good income advantage. His 1-1 upgrades are much faster than INnoVation's. He didn't really need a fast lair this game. There's nothing being done that forces him into that overseer. There's no real need for like super fast Mutalisks. So he's going to have good upgrades. His meters will still be at a decent time, and if he wants to play meters, which is absolutely a thing on Purity and Industry, nice large map, obviously access into the main base. A main base where you can't just put like 2 missile turrets, as much as it sort of says missile systems here and here. If you do that, there's this kind of entire area here, and apparently need some of these bad boys to try and fight that off. But yeah, you don't really have those bad boys as the Terran player, not without lacking heavily elsewhere. So you're kind of just stuck as INnoVation when those meters show up, because you kind of just have to defend your mineral line, but then you also have to defend your production and add-ons. And yeah, the meters have a lot of options on this map. And of course, if you're fighting, like, say you get here's the meters, then you can dive out to the natural. You can dive along to, well, the base down here when that comes up. Or if you're over here, you can dive into the third base. So you have really good transitions from one mineral line or aggressive location to the next. A few Banelings already morphing in, so getting a few of these up. Hydralisk Den on the way from Rogue in the main base as well. Just seen the 4th hatchery on the left-hand side. A couple of Queens already fighting, and the aliens taking damage. A couple more Creep Jimmers into the center, and well, Hydralisk Den is just now finishing. These Hellions still making their way to the far left-hand side. Just going to get some shots off onto the hatchery. Infestation Pit is building from Rogue in the back of the 3rd base. And just seeing INnoVation is bringing his siege tank forwards here. Obviously building that siege tank count up. It's going to be Lingbane Hydra, so not going to play Mutalisks. Going to play Hydralisks. Already on the way to Infestation Pit and into the Hive Tech. Might want to play like quickly into Lurkers here, Rogue. Just trying to think what he wants to do with the Hive. Obviously, he could just go fast Vipers against the siege tanks as well. But there's definitely, with the Hydras, always that option of going Lurkers, right? And if there's a map where Lurkers might work very well on, and they actually work well in general against Terran, but this map actually does work well for Lurkers because of those choke points I sort of discussed. You don't have to rely so much on Ling Bane run bys, as you can actually just force your way into positions with Lurkers and deal damage that way. And there's the Lurker Den. So yeah, we are actually going to see some Lurkers here from Rogue. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think we could see a couple of Vipers as well. A couple of Vipers to help deal with some of these attacks. Obviously, a Blinding Cloud on siege tanks can do very well in general. But yeah, obviously the main plan is Lurkers. The Hive gives you access to Seismic Spines, which gives you the extra range. So the Lurkers get 10 range instead of 8. Also gives you Adaptive Talons, which allows you to reburrow and relocate more quickly, and that's huge for the Lurkers to be able to be used aggressively instead of just defensively. And even defensively, allowing you to relocate in different positions is obviously a huge ability. So that's always, those are very important as this factor of INnoVation. Down onto the 3rd. We're going to be seeing a 4th command center of INnoVation on the bottom right side as well. Lings and Banes showing up, and we're just going to be seeing a couple of units going down. This hatchery on the 4th base looks good, though. Doesn't look like INnoVation's going to push too far onto creep. I mean, Destiny doesn't have to. The creep's pushed back quite nicely here. It's kind of a distance from this 3rd to the 4th, so you don't get the creep in front of it very easily. Well, Lings and Banes just waiting. The first 6 Lurkers already coming up, but without Adaptive Talons of range, I'm not sure they really want to run into this fight. He's going to start pushing a few of them forwards. In this scenario, it works quite well. He loses a few drones, but the Banes actually connect to get the Marines. And now these Lurkers are in position, it's very difficult to get units back into that location once more. There's a big Ling pullback from Rogue. I was like, what's he seen to pull that many Lings away? He's actually just going to launch a counterattack into... Well, that's actually not a good depot wall, because A, it's not actually complete. Like, yeah, it might slow you down getting in, but the Lings could even just surround that depot wall, and, if there wasn't anything to defend that, you actually get heavily supply blocked then as INnoVation. Now, INnoVation did actually win out the fight on the left-hand side, so he gets this hatchery. It wasn't really a fight. Rogue gave up the hatch, saying, I've got this hatchery here instead. I'm going to choose to deal damage on the counterattack, and he gets 18 SEVs, so good damage is done. Adaptive Talons now on the way with Seismic Spines already finished for these Lurkers. They're already that little bit more effective here. Creep Jimmer goes down. Lurkers will try and burrow up. Lings and Banes running forwards. Marines and tanks across the board. Pretty good to push that Ling Bane back as we see a few more Hydras on the way. Adaptive Talons still building. Vipers still in production. These tanks will continue to siege, and the Marines going through. A couple of tanks can get some good shots off on these lurkers. Lurkers taking a bunch of damage. 3 of them back away. Just going to be seeing the little bit of transfusions going on across the board on these lurkers now. So getting transfused up a bit. It's a little abduct in. Siege tank picked up. All those Lingers of Rogue are going to go around the bottom side. And there's a Spore Crawler of Rogue just comes to the front as well. I mean, these Lings have been very good at counterattacking. It's a map where I talked about, you know, you don't really have a lot of counterattack opportunities, but INnoVation's been very committed every single time, and so because of that, Rogue says, well, I can counterattack here. And INnoVation, you know, his commitment on the left side did get him a base. As Rogue now, though, with these Vipers, just going to abduct tanks into this fight, and so tanks are going down very quickly. Lings in the natural, Lings in the third. This attack has done more than expected. Already forced a lift on the fourth base, but now, in multiple locations, is going to shred mineral lines, while INnoVation is going to drop heavily in the main. He's going to push up the left-hand side. 2 big attacks in 2 different places from INnoVation. Is it going to be enough as the Lings come in for a bit of a wraparound? Marines are going to get again blown up by Balins. He does lift and try to get out of there. The Lurk is very well positioned from Rogue as well, though, and that means that INnoVation gets pushed back. 39 SCVs died in this attack. And what a counter it has been, as INnoVation has brought to 32 SCVs. That is not enough to stay in this. This drop in the main came back to this low ground, but now isn't doing very well either. Blinding Cloud on the siege tanks. The Lurkers will move forwards and jump on top of them. All the tanks get shut down. The Marines know they can't stick around. And yeah, Rogue may only have 4 bases, but INnoVation has 3 bases and about 2 bases of SCVs, if that. 1.5 bases of SCVs. Definitely not enough. And the Lurkers are consistently in position now to defend because he just has enough of them. And there's only 2 real places you can attack as INnoVation. Well, 3. You can drop in the main. That's not really happening at the moment. And then, you know, the Lurkers on this front 4th base and Lurkers on the 3rd. Where else does INnoVation come from? Yes, if you have to take more bases, it becomes more problematic. But you don't have to rush into more bases when you've done that amount of damage already. This time the Planetary Fortress likely to get up, but maybe not before a few more SCVs go down. Rogue backed away for a moment. He's going to get in here for maybe a couple of SCVs, maybe a mule. Depends if he's target firing, because, yeah, Planetary Fortress becomes priority if you're not target firing initially. So the Planetary finished, and then the Lings went elsewhere. Tanks firing. The Vipers going to get more abducts off, so going to bring these tanks straight into range. Lurkers pick them off pretty much immediately once again. +3 melee from Rogue on the back of the Evolution Chamber, so just continue with his upgrades as well. INnoVation is on 3-3. Rogue is obviously not worried too much about the 3-3 because he's been kind of on Lurkers, so the melee upgrades don't even matter so much. I'm kind of surprised he didn't get like a missile upgrade actually to kind of help out along the way, because these Lurkers are just going to sit here. They're going to kill supply depots. That's actually a pretty big thing, and he's also going to kill a factory, which is huge when you're relying on siege tanks to try and fight this army comp. Parasitic bombs all over the medevacs. They are going to have some issues. They need to back away. Obviously, parasitic bombs one of the best things you can do with the energy of the Lurkers when you're just facing kind of bio units and medevacs. Shutting down those medevacs takes away a lot of what the bio can do. Lurkers getting on top here and again, just Lurkers at this point in such high numbers. There's 18 Lurkers on the map, 2 more about to finish for 20, and they're just all over. A, they're harassing, B, they're running in defensively against, like, you know, small groups of Marines. They're going to bring the rest of them across the map now as well. The Lurkers burrow up. Marines taking damage again. It's going to duck siege tanks in towards these Lurkers as well, so they aren't going to do very well defensively, and INnoVation just continues to be in a lot of trouble. He's been in trouble for a long time. Rogue played a very good game this time around. I mean, obviously the early game damage was pretty nice, but Rogue in a good spot. But the counterattack that killed so many SCVs just really sealed the deal, and since then INnoVation has been surviving, but not really doing much else other than surviving. He's not been making any real plays to win this game. Okay, I guess nice that he kept Rogue on just 4 bases. But in general, Rogue didn't need to be off 4 bases because of the damage he got done. So it was kind of Rogue's decision. He's like, well, I will stay on just 4 bases because I'm sending so many units across the map. I can't defend more than 4. But that's fine because, like I just said, he doesn't need more than 4, right? So Rogue's logic there, absolutely on point and checks out. And from being 0-3 down, we're now talking about only a 3-2 scoreline for INnoVation. Rogue winning 2 back-to-back, giving INnoVation some of his own medicine, perhaps here, in just terms of like, hey, how does it feel to lose a couple games in a row, huh? Really nice, because, yeah, I'm hyped. It gives us a series. Honestly, 20 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago, 25 minutes, whatever it was, I actually really thought that we'd be, GGing out on periods of the industry and being like, well, guys, sometimes best nights just don't work out. 5-0 for INnoVation. But no, Rogue has completely turned it around in the last 2 maps. Makes me very excited to see what comes up now, going into a map number 6. Well, we go into Golden Wall for game 6 here, as in the bottom right-hand side, the blue Terran player is INnoVation. And he's now lost 2 in a row. And so what looked like it might have been some easy money for him, not looking so easy anymore. Rogue, our red Zerg in the bottom left from Jinair, really putting up a fight. Really great to see that. Gets me all excited because it means we've got a series. Even if INnoVation wins the next 2 maps now, and it's like it's 5-2. It's not the closest scoreline. I feel like we've had some good games at this point. The first couple maps they weren't bad. They were fun if you're a Terran player, not so fun if you're a Zerg. But that last game, yeah, it also wasn't really back and forth, but there was lots of action on the map. There was a lot happening, and INnoVation did kill a base or 2 here or there. Maybe I was a bit biased, being like, Rogue this, Rogue that. Maybe I'm just cheering on Rogue a bit, guys, because you know what? I kind of want Rogue to do well right now. I kind of want this to go into like a game 7, 8, 9. Give us 9 maps. Heck yeah. There's a couple of drones just going to be popping out on the main. It's already a hatchery first, so hatch into gas, into spawning pool. Here on Golden Wall, one of the maps which is still, I feel, being figured out a little bit. We've seen a lot of different styles. Some players like to take third base down here. Some Terrans like to take their gold base here and just push forward. Some players like to play very macro heavy and try and fight what is kind of a very large map against the Zerg, but it can work, especially if you can start securing bases down on the bottom side of the map as well. So there's a lot of different styles and strats that kind of work on this one. It is just a large rush distance map in general, though. That said, because of that, sometimes the Terrans get a bit greedy, and the Zerg sometimes like to go for their Nidus play, and Rogue's putting this Overlord right down in the bottom right corner. And there has been Niduses in this corner of the base a lot. I know a lot of people are probably familiar with that from GSL, but actually, this was a thing that Bly was doing a lot on the European server way before like 2 weeks before the GSL match, if not 2 or 3, or maybe even a month before. StarCraft time has kind of all melded into one thing in my mind recently because of the lockdown and how much StarCraft we are casting. But yeah, Nidus is always a possibility here on Golden Wall, and it is just that weird corner where unless you send a unit specifically there, you don't really see it. So it's so easy to forget about, even if like, I've died to this before. It's just one of those things that's easy. It's easily forgotten about at times. As 2 queens finish, and we'll see this queen popping out. Reaper is going to disengage for the moment. There's a fast lair from Rogue. So yeah, he's going to go for the quick lair here. I mean, it was not a guarantee that it was going to be Nidus. And it could still be like a 2-base Mutalisk or something. I mean, it'd be very, very fast Mutalisks, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's just, I feel like Rogue as well, especially, like, Rogue loves it when he can build a Nidus and just win a game. Like, he loves Swarmhost Nidus. I feel like an aggressive Nidus like this can be quite well received too. As you do see the Reaper, of course, looking for scouting. This time, the Lings. Actually, I feel like with 6 Lings, you should have really been able to deny this. But now the lair is seen. Oh, an INnoVation gets the scout of a lifetime. What on earth? As it feels as though those Lings were really meant to, especially with 6, be able to deny this. Yeah, this Reaper might die. But he's seen what he needs to see. The Rotron drop still from Rogue. What's the plan? You still just try and pull this off? Rotron into the Nidus network. Okay. I mean, it's exactly kind of what we thought would happen. I mean, INnoVation doesn't have vision in this corner, so there is still that chance that we see it, and maybe it still works here. Viking out from INnoVation, but he's going to go straight down here to try and stop Nidus. Hey, but if the Nidus gets up, the Nidus still gets up, right? INnoVation on 4 Hellions, building a 3rd CC. Now, this is just complete belief that he can just stop the Nidus getting up in the first place. But if the Nidus does get up, what about this corner of his base here? Like, if the Nidus comes up here in the natural? Oh, no. Oh, he sees it, though. I think this SCV just moved over, or maybe the depot was enough right up from the start. Well, he's only got 2 Hellions and a Marine. The Vikings coming back over. is going to land. Do we have a queen in here initially from the Nidus? We do, and the transfusions go off to keep the Nidus alive. Well, only a few units get out, but there's honestly not much defensively still. Next Nidus network, not placed yet from Rogue. Needs to come down soon. It's going to go in the main. These roaches and the queens just aren't dying. 12 SCVs already dead. Now he has to go and focus on the Nidus up on the high ground, but he already has queens out, so he already has a transfusion available. The second this Nidus is done, he's going to start to unload the first transfuse, the second transfuse, and INnoVation's just going to type out GG. It didn't even come down to the corner. In fact, INnoVation saw it. He just thoroughly believed. He thoroughly believed that he was going to be able to just shut the Nidus down. He didn't think Rogue was going to be able to do enough with that. And it was a bad call, because he just thinks he can shut the Nidus down, be in position tonight, ever getting up, and then you can get away with that CC in an amazing spot. You just kind of play your build, and I think that's why he messed up a little bit. Didn't quite take this seriously enough. Maybe didn't think Rogue would properly commit into it as well when he scouted the lair so quick. It feels like Rogue maybe steals that one away from INnoVation, but INnoVation's own fault. And Rogue has got us tied up 3-3. We're going the distance at the moment. Of course, it's not best of 7, it's best of 9, so you need 2 more maps to win, but from being 0-3 down to tied 3-3, well, I'm very, very ready. Don't know about you guys, but I'm very ready to see who's going to take it to match point. Game 7. Everdream. It's the one map that we haven't seen from the regular ladder map pool yet. Of course, we're guaranteed at least a Game 8 in this series, which means we will have at least 1 map replayed, obviously potentially 2. This is not my tournament that I run or anything, so I'm not 100% sure how the picks go for when maps potentially need to be replayed or so. I imagine there's just some picking process. Maybe they re-veto or so down to 3 maps, and then they get to pick 1 each or something along those lines. Definitely feels like there's some opportunities, as we have in the bottom left side. The blue Terran player, INnoVation. And in the top right-hand side, the red Zerg from Jinair Green Wings. This is Rogue. Game 7 of this best of 9. And we're tied up. Again, really changed the narrative from the first 3 games of the series, and Rogue has really stepped back into this best of 9. I am a little afraid that, you know, he got off to... Well, you know, he had a good pounce on Simulacrum, and he cleaned up and he countered, and that worked well. You know, on Purity Industry, I felt like he did good damage early, and in Golden Wall, he obviously Nidused. I just wonder what does happen again, maybe if we go back to that game where INnoVation just finds a few workers, right? If you just find like a handful of worker kills, what happens then? You know, what next? Does Rogue just fall apart again? Does that just become a whole new issue once more? It feels very it feels just a little bit scary, right? So I wonder if we need to see Rogue staying on that aggressive front and staying feisty here or so. Let's see what happens as we have INnoVation is moving his SCV to the upper right side. Hatchery is about to finish on the natural, and of course this is just a very regular opening. But yeah, I've kind of liked the aggression from Rogue, right? And even, you know, even though it wasn't all-out aggression every game, it has been like kind of, you know, a more aggressive style in general. Like, he's been ready, happy to jump and chase units down, very happy to counterattack. Well, let's see what he can do in this one, as this is going to be a bunker on the 3rd base. So immediately this will be INnoVation looking to force a 3rd base in an alternate location. Rogue could try and play like a 2-base lair against this if he doesn't want to take that base elsewhere. Right now the drone obviously takes a couple of shots from the Reaper, and the bunker, you can finish a bunker, of course. You don't have to cancel it, because you can, of course, salvage it for your money back anyways. Gets the Reaper in the bunker. What that does is the Reaper actually just gets in, doesn't have to run to keep chasing, and is able to get a bit of extra range. And so that's actually really good. Probably the reason he gets that drone before it becomes an extractor. That's a nice, sick little play. There's a second Reaper here as well. Players have been doing this often when they do try and block the 3rd base, where they're able to essentially just set up in a position which kind of stops these Zerglings from, you know, being able to clean out this bunker very easily. It really does force you just onto 2 bases for a long time here as Rogue. You can see he's even got a drone that's like, well, actually, I want to go somewhere. You know, let me build a 3rd base, and you just can't even move out just yet. His Lings will hang out on the ramp. And a lot more Zerglings on the way in. With a couple of Hellions from INnoVation finishing up in the main, the Ling down the left-hand side, and the other two Zerglings of Rogue still just up into the center. Reaper is going to see all these Zerglings as Ling speed completes. He doesn't quite save himself with the grenade. But this is Rogue's choice, just this Ling flood kind of style of game. But seeing this coming, as the Terran player now, you just sit on the high ground. You don't need the natural expansion right away here. So he's just going to get a couple of Hellions behind a wall off, and it may be a few moments before INnoVation can retake the natural, sure. But it's a few moments in which it's, you don't need to rush to take the natural, because look at the eco damage that Rogue has already done to himself in building this many Lings. Look at the income advantage INnoVation had in the building. And look at it now. I mean, even still, he's actually in a very good spot there as Rogue finally gets down to a third hatchery on the lower position. This bunker will just salvage, of course. INnoVation gets the 75 minerals back for that, so that's, of course, one of the nice things about building a bunker there. You can obviously just let it get up to full HP. Obviously, I mean, in this case, actually helped him get that drone kill on the extractor as well. And as we do see the singling of Rogue all the way out the left-hand side. Still seeing that roach drone just about halfway done at the moment. And, well, a lot of roaches maybe about to be made from Rogue. INnoVation building the Banshees, and for good cause. He's maybe a bit afraid of aggression, and I don't blame him. Look at the gas that Rogue has set up, ready to produce now that he has this roach roaring finished, and he's going to build a lot of roaches. And this isn't just like, oh, your friendly neighborhood roaches just trying to keep things safe. These roaches are going across the map. They are a gang, and they're looking to beat up INnoVation. The thing is, it is maybe a bit predictable, right? Such a late third. Maybe it's just, what does Rogue do about it? Well, maybe he could have sent the Lings, like a lower number of Lings out, cleaned this bunker up much faster, taking the third base here. Then you can actually play a regular game. You can go into a faster lab, for example. You know, something that just takes up a bit more gas and not, means you're not quite as mineral heavy. One Zergling down to the natural expansion as Hellion's able to take that down. So Hellion's able to take that Zergling down right away. INnoVation through the middle and continuing to the south, as we'll see the lair in the main base. 7 drones continue to build the reactor on the starport. This Rax of INnoVation just finishing up will take off and go to the reactor as well. It's going to be seeing plenty of Marines to keep on pouring out there. As look at this Roach force coming through the top side. I mean, on the plus side, Rogue's kind of keeping it hidden. Kind of. I mean, the Banshees... I guess the Banshees kind of saw the saturation or lack of saturation on the third, and that's why INnoVation is sitting so far back with the two of them. He's kind of expecting this to happen. In the end, Rogue just ended up droning behind this, but again, he's now droning to be catching up to INnoVation's work account instead of droning to take a lead in the work account. You know, usually if you drone off the back of this, you're dealing damage with the roaches, so you're taking a worker lead. Droning to play catch-up, it's just not pretty. It just doesn't work out very well. There's our Banshees back up the top side, and I mean, the thing is now the Roach is backed off, so the Banshees can get set up aggressively. So not only are you, in a good eco position already as Inno, but now you actually still have your harassment tools on the map to get more done. Well, the two Banshees will come around the top side. Hellions get a creep tumor in the center, 2 more medevacs, 1-1 upgrades, combat shields, all in production. And INnoVation's 2 Banshees will make their way into the main. There's a Spore Crawler building in the back, but that's not going to stop these Banshees just sitting on the corner just now, and already finding 4 drones, take no extra shots, going to come into the back of the third base, can get a couple of drones from a distance here, and this is Rogue just... It kind of feels like, well, I mean, it's Rogue trying to be aggressive and failing horribly, and then INnoVation on top of that now getting damage done is just getting himself into such a good spot. This feels rough. INnoVation is going to be up against 1-1 Roaches. At least that's the plan, but he'll be well onto 1-1 himself. So the push from Rogue, like a 1-1 Roach timing or something, I mean, is it even a timing when it's going to hit this late? Yeah, it's just not pretty. Like, when you do see this setup, generally it hits around about now, even with the upgrades finished. You've got that roach speed. He does have roach speed at least. But you're just able to get in there and you swarm and you hit when you've got a lot of roaches. So your opponent doesn't have much. You're down in army supply here as the roach player. And roaches are so supply inefficient that, to be down in army supply, usually you're up like 10, 20, sometimes even 30 army supply. I mean, oftentimes when you take the fight against the Terran with the 1-1 roach timing, you're actually up, near to double the army supply of the Terran player. Sometimes you're fighting like 110 or 120 against 60 to 70, and it's like, well, that's a lot of army supply advantage, and that's just what you need to make like a Roach Ravager comp work, especially against a defensive Terran. Now, this Roach Ravager army probably means that INnoVation can't push onto the map aggressively with this entire army, because that's when you get caught out, swarmed, and then you actually do just get taken down. But what he can do is drop, because there's absolutely no real way to shut down these medevacs. So INnoVation can drop around the map and use this harassment as his way to keep things active and to keep things going his way. There's a few Marines unloading on the top side, a little bit of creep still pressing out. A couple Troop Teamers going down. There's a few more Lings getting picked away at. Roaches and Ravagers running to the right side, and we're seeing a bit of Roach Ravager of Rogue showing up. These Marines will load back into medevacs, go up into the main base, and 2 more medevacs are going to go towards the natural expansion as well. Yeah, this is just difficult because now you've got Roach Ravager running around after medevacs, and you're just never going to clean these up, right? But what are you going to do about it? Like, maybe if they go commit in, well, okay, Wardy, he's going to hit Amazing Crows of Bars and completely shut those 2 medevacs down. How about that? Yes, that was obviously once in a lifetime bars. How often do you see Crows of Bars taking down 2 full medevacs of units that are still fighting? You just kind of don't. But even that snipe from Rogue doesn't put him into an army lead. So even that wasn't good for him. And now his INnoVation maxes. Now he just knows his army is just straight up better than what Rogue is working with. Pushing into the center, backing away. This is basically just pure Ravager, and against pure Ravager, I don't even know if you want to siege the tanks. It almost feels like you can just stem and like step into this, because the Ravagers should die very quickly as he splits backwards against these Vials. The Ravagers die very quickly. If you siege the tanks, they become very stationary, targets for Crows of Vials. He just morphed in a few Banelings. Bane speed isn't ready yet. It's definitely the right idea for Rogue. He just needs a few more moments before the Banelings actually try to fight. As they waddle forwards there initially, they get taken down. 2 more medevacs will just load up from INnoVation, so he's not going to let up this pressure. A few more Banes finish up. Tanks already firing. The Bio Army having to keep on pulling backward here, and just going to be seeing the Ravagers all over with the Corrosive Vials. He actually misses a lot of the tanks that are stationary there with the remaining Vials. I feel like when so much of this fight is happening on the top, this is the perfect time for this backstab of a drop to really make itself known and to really have a good time. These Ravagers as well, they're so expensive. Every time a Ravager dies, that's 100 gas just disappearing. He doesn't even clean up this army. 4th base is super low. It goes down. INnoVation retaining some of the units as well. As Adrenal Glands is on the way from Rogue, he tries to make some use of Hive Tech here to make the Lings useful, but the Lings don't even have +2 melee. I feel like without +2 melee, it doesn't matter how fast these Lings are going to be attacking. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference as the Biostims in a few of these drones. We'll take some more damage. I think we're just watching INnoVation, having some fun. After 3 losses in a row, he's like, no, I do not lose more than 3 in a row. And he really has had enough. He's like, okay, I gave you, I took 3 in a row for you, fair enough. You can take 3 in a row for me, but that is it. And now I know, of course, winning this will put himself onto match point. 1 map away from victory in this best of 9 as Ravager's trying to crush on through, but the siege tanks are just doing so much. Usually, sometimes Ravagers against tanks, you see this scenario where it's like, well, the tanks are having a bad time. The tanks are getting cleaned up by Biles. This is just too many tanks. The Ravagers are dropping too quickly to get all the Biles off that they need. And Rogue down 50 army supply, or just 50 supply in general, is just trying to hold on to anything and everything he can give in this series. Marines and Marauders are going to come stemming down this round. Ravager's still taking a lot of damage. A couple extra Banelings being picked up. GG from Rogue, and INnoVation will take game number 7. A 4-3 lead for INnoVation, and he's 1 map away from closing out the best of 9. Well, this could be our last map as we finally got a player up onto match point in top left-hand side. The blue Terran is INnoVation. Up against the red Zerg in the bottom right-hand side. From Janair Greenwings, it is Rogue. So, as we get this underway, game number 8, we play on Nightshade again, and I just don't really know why. I don't understand what process, unless you literally just say to INnoVation, you get to pick map 8. with no vetoes, I don't understand how Nightshade makes it here. Like, sometimes Nightshade slips into a best of 3, and maybe that's what's happened. Like I said before, maybe they veto down to 3 maps, and then they get a pick each. It just seems crazy to give INnoVation first pick, because if you know, if it was me doing it, I'd give Rogue the first map choice, because he's down, right? Like, you know, give Rogue a chance to fight back. So, very interesting. Very, very interesting way to open for game number 8, I guess. Obviously, there has to be some repeated maps here, unless they add extra maps from the ladder map pool, or add extra maps that aren't in the ladder map pool. And obviously, I don't think you really want to do that. I think it's better just to keep the ladder maps and replay 1 or 2, but just kind of crazy to come on Nightshade, which, well, we always talk about how Terran love it, so not sure if this is great for Rogue, as he's down a map and needs to make some magic happen. And of course, if you're still watching and listening, guys, thank you so much for enjoying these games today here on the YouTube channel. I'm Wardy, of course. This is WardiTV. Do consider hitting that sub button. Do consider liking the video. Help us a whole bunch. Let's push that like number up. We've had some really good amounts of likes lately on the videos. We're doing better consistently, which is really awesome to see. So let's keep pushing it. Thank you so much for all the love, of course, and support. And the fact that we're going to hit 20,000 YouTube subs probably this month, if we keep up with the current pacing, is just crazy. That would be 10,000 YouTube subs in 5 months, which is just ridiculous. Factory on the way from INnoVation in the main base. An Overlord from Rogue out to the left-hand side. A Reaper is patrolling. And we do just see the command center continue to build on the natural. A couple of Lings are going to be through the bottom side and back down the bottom right. Couple of Queens, couple of drones. Not really much of anything just yet to talk about, right? I guess double gas from INnoVation, so this is not going to be like a fast 3 CC of 1 gas. This is going to be a starport. Nightshade map where he did go Cloak Banshees earlier, or show that he was going Cloak Banshees, but cancelled it when Rogue got the scout. It was map number 2, so it was kind of a while ago. I mean, Cloak Banshee is always a thing on Nightshade, because like I said earlier, I think it's the sort of map where the Zerg sometimes just go for that early roach aggression just to try and pick up the win nice and early, nice and easily, without having to worry too much about it. As the Lings get those rocks, a couple of Queens will drop down. The Creep Tumors and the Reaper of INnoVation will just be out to the side. Sees that third hatch. Drops a grenade here. The Creep Tumor takes some damage. Just going to see our starport is going to finish soon. And I think this Rax is going to give up the tech lab. That or INnoVation just kind of says, you know, let's just build a Viking and just impact. But I just don't think you do that on Nightshade. I think it's just too... I think just going for the Banshees is just too good. It's just too safe. Now that's a mind game. He builds a Viking and Cloak, so it's actually going to be Viking. The thing is Rogue here, if you scout this, right, and you see the Cloak, you're immediately like, oh, you know, well, in that case, I'm not going to be, you know, too aggressive or anything like that. So then it already does sort of shut down some of the aggression if Rogue gets the scout. Right on the 2 Hellions pulling back up to the top. A Bane Nest dropping down in the front of the natural. So Rogue just very quick Bane Nest here. Oh, wow. Concussive shells and he cancels it. That's interesting. I wonder what kind of mind game he's trying to play here. This Viking pops up, but he does actually go for a Banshee follow-up. Okay, I don't really know. Like, he felt like the concussive shells, a bit of a fake out maybe, trying to... It's almost like he cancelled it to be like, oh, no, I didn't want you to see that. But then he is going stim, so maybe he had plans to make Marauder. I honestly don't know. Like, maybe he wanted to make Marauders and cancel Cloak. Yeah, maybe that... Maybe you could do that, make Marauders, cancel Cloak, and go for like a Marauder Hellbat medevac after this Viking and attack. But maybe then he just decides, oh, well, you actually see me, I'm actually just going to make a Banshee. I don't know. Very weird setup. I mean, this is 8 Hellions, so it definitely could have been a Hellbat setup. As we see these Queens actually taking a lot of damage from the start. First one's going down. There's just no follow-up to this just yet. There's not really the damage output you need. The Lings are scared to go into 8 Hellions as well. And INnoVation behind it will just go into the 2 extra barracks, making way on the add-ons, and obviously getting reactors, etc. set up for these barracks as well. Looks like the factory's going to be pretty quick to the tech lab, so you can then start up a couple of siege tanks. And there's 2 Creep Tumors go down to the right side already. This Viking is going to deal good damage and will get the Overlord kill. So Overlord goes down. As the Banshee and the Natural will just continue through. 3 drones make that 4. 4 drones already down. Also a job well done as this hatchery in the front continues to build. 1-1 upgrade still on the way out. A couple of extra SCVs are producing. Just seeing our evolution chambers from Rogue. He did this on the previous time he played Nightshade 2. Builds these Evos out over here. Bit of a wall off in this area, but it is dangerous if the Terran player gets here. Those are obviously prime targets, and if you can deny upgrades, that's obviously something that generally the Terran player is pretty, I'd say pretty, very happy about. Drone's going down as we do have the Hellions. The Reaper still pressuring out the front. This is really good damage already for INnoVation. Drone kills, Queen kills. I mean, well, look, he lost the Viking. He's killed 10 workers, 2 queens, and he's killed 3 overlords as well. So already the resources lost is 5 times between INnoVation and Rogue. It's just already feeling like we've gone feels like we've gone back in time to the start of this series, right? Where not only are we playing one of the maps that was played earlier, but we're also just seeing INnoVation finding the damage he found earlier, and then Rogue kind of having trouble against it. Just makes me very worried for this first 1-1 combat shield push, because it's the sort of push now of this kind of damage where the Hellions are still alive and in the fight. It makes it the sort of push that can end games. Let's hope that it doesn't. Let's hope that Rogue can hold on, at least give us a long one for this game 8 if it is going to end up being the last map. Let's hope maybe he can fight back. Give us a game 9. We've come all this way. Marines and attack from INnoVation still down the right as Zerglin picked off, and INnoVation will just come all the way forwards there. Tank will siege. The Lings and the Baneling into the center, and Tank's going to turn onto those Lings. Well, the first tank gets surrounded quickly, but these Hellions are going to do a lot. No Baneling speed yet. Marines are still fighting Lings and having a good time of it. And now there's what? Well, actually, the Queen just blocked these Banelings from even having a chance of getting away. So now the Banelings start to morph, as INnoVation is already in on top of the 4th base. The 4th taking some serious damage. The Banshee is back. This is actually just ridiculous. The fact he built 1 Banshee and it's down 16 kills, it will go down a champion. That's crazy too, right? He only built 1 Banshee. Didn't even mention that because I was just expecting Banshee 2 to show up already. INnoVation up 20 supply here. 1-1 upgrades already done. Ready to take another fight onto this 4th base, which he's about to deny. So Rogue has to fight into it. Hellions are morphed into Hellbats to do some tanking. There's only really Lings on the left side. The 1 Bane that makes it through will not make a difference. The rest of the Banes are trailing far behind. And INnoVation has the numbers to just push forwards. And Rogue will leave the game, leave the series. INnoVation wins this best of 9 out 5-3. He's able to shut this down, make this happen. INnoVation as the winner of today's series. Guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, here on WardiTV, we upload a series of StarCraft 2 per day. So if you do enjoy it, hit that like button, so share it to more people, let more people find this content. Subscribe so you can see when more videos go up, and of course, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. We've got loads of great matches still coming up. We had great games in the WardiTV Spring Championship lately. The ESL Open Cups have been absolutely awesome as well. So we've got a lot of good matches to continue uploading for you guys. So we'll continue to upload those as fast as we can. We might have to cut a couple here or there just because we do 1 series a day, the best from the stream. And I still want to sneak some of these YouTube exclusive casts in for you guys. So hopefully you did enjoy this one. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day. And of course, see you next time here on WardiTV.